Welcome into the Ultimate Cavaliers show. Mikey McNuggets joined by Earl the Pearl tonight. Earl and the
What's
Cleveland
happening?
Cavaliers have swept the Miami Heat. Today's post-game show is brought to you by Living for We. Make sure you check out the award-winning podcast. Episodes come out every other Tuesday, and Living for We's goal this season is to end gun violence here in Northeast Ohio. Speaking of violence, Earl, what we just witnessed the Cleveland Cavaliers do to the Miami Heat could be categorized as a violent act. You called that offense a weapon of mass destruction earlier in the season. And while the offense was incredible tonight, I'd argue the defense may have been even better. But you're the offensive guy, so give me your 2 cents on what you saw from this Cavaliers offense in there, and this is not a misspoken word, in their 138-83 win tonight over Miami to close out their first-round series.
I mean, this is like an episode of First 48. This is murder in the first degree. I tweeted out, the Cavs snatched their soul in game 3. Game 4, they took the shovels out and buried their asses. This was a total domination from start to end. You talk about the defensive side of the ball. You look at how the game started. The very first possession, Jarrett Allen get a steal, fast break, get the dunk, and that kind of set the tone on where we were going to go for the rest of this game. The Cavaliers came out here and they meant business. They came out here and put their foot on their neck, like offensive domination, defensive domination, and they closed out the Miami Heat in 4. We talked a lot about how this was going to be a test for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think Cleveland had the proper respect and a proper fear for the Miami Heat, but all respect due to Eric Spoelstra. You just didn't have the personnel to match up with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So no matter what adjustments that you were going to make, the truth is you just didn't have enough. Every game that they played, the Cavs were at least 6.5, 7-point favorites. So this series was never really close. They played around and got it close a little bit in game 2, man. But this was an absolute, like you said, it was absolute murder out here.
Yeah, and it's a shame because Miami has this championship pedigree and Spo's a great coach, but you said it. We don't have the players. You don't have the firepower. It doesn't matter how good your coach is. Listen, I could be in Bowles Rocky River Little League baseball team, and if my kids all can't hit, it doesn't matter if it's me or Joe Madden coaching the team or Terry Francona. If you got no hitters, you got no hitters. The Heat don't have any shooters, and they only have one shot creator, and at the end of the day, one shot creator and one who is good but not elite like Tyler Hero is not going to be able to go shot for shot with Cleveland. Defensively, the Cavs limited Miami to everything. Or they took away everything. They limited them to nothing. They were struggling to even get paint touches. And Earl, I tweeted this out, and to me, this is the most impressive part of the night. This is what a number 1 seed that won 64 games in the regular season against the number 10 seed in the East that went 37-45 in the regular season is supposed to look like. Yeah. These teams were not on the same level. Yes, they were both in the playoffs, but Cleveland clinched a playoff spot and basically clinched the 1 seed a month and a half ago. Miami had to win 2 games in the play-in just to earn the right to play Cleveland. These two teams were never in the same conversation during the regular season. They were never on the same level during the regular season. Hell, Miami traded away their best player to Golden State at the deadline, signaling they were not focused on winning this season. And when you match up 4 games in a row against a significantly better, more talented, and hungrier team, this is the result. And you go back to game 2, we were a Donovan Mitchell fourth quarter explosion away from this series being tied 1-1 heading back to Miami. And Earl, I felt like Cleveland took that punch, said, okay, we see what you got, but we don't want to have this happen again. And they blew the brakes off Miami in back-to-back games. I want to give you the floor one more time before I dive into some of the specifics from tonight that I thought made this win so impressive.
I thought one of the biggest stats that, pointed out to me at one point in the game, the Cleveland Cavaliers had more made 3-pointers, 11, than Miami had total made field goals, 9. Miami ended up making only 10 3-pointers in this game, shooting around 20%. I think they shot 36% overall from the field. And so for as much as a dominating offensive performance it was, I mean, you look at everything past that first quarter Saturday in Miami, and it's like the Cleveland Cavaliers has locked in defensively, and they took this series very seriously, set the tone, and now we get the rest up and get ready for Indiana, and that's going to be a tough series.
All right, so these are a few of the notes that I took out from watching that first game. So I'm reading off my phone, so just I took these notes. But basically, there was 6:47 left in the first quarter. Miami was already down big. They had a 3-on-1 fast break early. Got a rebound defensively, turned it into a transition opportunity. Ty Jerome hustled his ass off so well that he cut off a 3-on-1. One defender, 3 offensive players. He cut him off, forced Miami to pull it out, and it ended with a Dean Wade contesting a Bam Adebayo 3 in the corner. If you have a 3-1 offensive advantage in transition, and you let Ty Jerome, and you guys know I love Ty, but it ain't like Ty's the most athletic dude on the court, beat you back down the court and force you to end up taking a corner 3 with Bam Adebayo, that is an abomination. After the first quarter, Miami trailed 43-17, 17 points in the first quarter, the fewest amount of points Miami scored in a quarter all season long. Miami had 8 turnovers in the first 14 minutes of play. At one point in the second quarter, when it was 66-23, Cleveland had 11 made threes. Miami had 9 made field goals. There was a point in the second quarter, Earl, where Miami had 8 total field goals made, and the Cavs had 6 different players who made a 3. Jarrett Allen had a double-double in the first half. I actually thought Jarrett Allen played a damn near perfect game today. He was 5 of 5 from the floor, had the 12 rebounds, had 6 steals, which tied a Cleveland franchise record. And Earl, in 25 minutes of play, he was a plus 42. By far the highest of any Cavaliers player, 8 higher than Max Strus, who finished second with a plus 34. It was everybody. It wasn't one person. Hunter, Jerome off the bench were awesome. Dean Wade had his highest scoring output of the postseason. Sam Merrill was good. Mitchell played well. Mobley, good enough. And when you combine all that together against a shorthanded Miami team, you get an utter domination, complete one-sided affair. And the Cavs are now going to have 4, 5, maybe 6 days off before their second round series begins.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, right? Darius Garland can continue to rest that toe injury, so that's cool. I just like, total team effort. I like how they came out here in game 4 and they ain't mess around. Like they didn't play around. They understood the moment, came out here and it was wire to wire victory. It seemed like everybody was locked in. Donovan Mitchell was cruising. If this was a 4-quarter game, man, that dude could have ended up with a 30, 40-point game. Shout out to DeAndre Hunter. Back-to-back good games from him, coming off a 21-point performance. He turned around and dropped 19. So, everybody played a part in this. I thought Max Strus, even though he didn't score the basketball the way that he did the last game, I thought he had an impact on, rebounding the ball, dished out some assists. There's a lot that has been said about Dean Wade and the lack of performance we got from him. But, he had 7 rebounds coming off the bench, and the Castle was plus 23 with him out there on the floor. So I thought the entire team was locked in. They understood the assignment. Go out here, close out a team that you're clearly better than, and get yourself some rest before you move on to the next opponent. You talk about Miami again, like this is a series that the Cavaliers should have swept, and they handled their business. I mean, Miami had 37 wins on the regular season. Of all the qualifying teams that made the NBA playoffs, both Eastern Conference and Western Conference, they were the only team that failed to win at least 40 games. So, this is, to me, I look at it more as a statement in, okay, you didn't struggle with a team that you shouldn't have struggled with. You left no doubt. You left nothing to be desired. And for everybody who had questions about the Cleveland Cavaliers coming into this playoff series this season, whether they were serious and they was, ready for the moment, I think they set the tone early. Indiana would be a much tougher test, but I am very confident in this basketball team and how they played against Miami going into that next round.
Yeah, I'm looking at the team stats real quick. I'm going to tweet this out. I hope I'm right, but if you took away every 2-point bucket the Cavs made tonight, Earl, and you just counted the Cavs free throws and the Cavs 3-point makes, they would have won this game by 5 points. They had 22 threes, so that's 66 points. And they had 22 free throws. That's 88 points. So you take away all the 2-pointers they made in this game, the Cavs still beat Miami. They had 28 points off turnovers. They forced Miami into 19 turnovers, which is just silly. They converted those turnovers. Hunter, hand in his face, it doesn't matter. He still makes every damn 3-pointer he takes. Jerome was incredible again off the bench. And it is the pressure. And I think this is something that we harp on, but we don't necessarily emphasize it enough. The pressure that the Cleveland Cavaliers offense puts on a defense every single possession is so difficult to deal with. Whether it's Donovan getting downhill, forcing rotations because he gets in his foot in the paint. Then he kicks it out in DeAndre Hunter. Well, you have to close out on Hunter because he's a 40% three-point shooter. If he toes out too hard, he attacks the closeout. He gets back a foot in the paint. And now your rotation, which is already shifted, so your matchups are already off, now you're rotating again to try and find your second cross match. And by the way, Hunter's good enough to finish. If the big man steps up and help, he's comfortable dumping it off to Allen and Mobley. I thought he's actually developed a really, really good dump-off chemistry with Evan Mobley in the last couple of games. Oh, and then, by the way, if you help and then you shift to help the dump-off, you're leaving Sam Merrill open in the corner. So, there's no good option to take away here, Earl. And when you look at how Cleveland plays offense versus how Miami plays offense, Hero was running around just trying to get a shot, right? And if you double-team Hero, he's kicking out to Davion Mitchell in the corner. And I'm going to ask the question, is anyone scared of Davion Mitchell taking open threes?
No,
In games 1 and 2, I kept saying, hey, Miami's making some really tough shots here, guys. They're hanging around because they're making some tough twos and give them credit, but that's not sustainable. And you saw in games 3 and 4, when they stopped making some of those tough twos, it just wasn't even a contest. Now, if Indiana is their next round opponent, and it appears Indiana with a 3-1 lead going back home, Dame out with the Achilles, it appears they have that series under control. It's going to be a completely different animal, what Indiana brings from a competitive standpoint than what Miami brings. But Cleveland's going to have 4, 5, potentially even 6 days off before that series starts to go back to scout Indiana, to look at their tendencies, to look at what they did well and what they did poorly against them, and formulate a game plan to attack what they do worst.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. With an opponent like Indiana, first of all, man, you're getting a team that's coached by a championship-winning coach in Rick Carlisle. And so you talk about a team that plays at a very, very extremely high pace, led by Tyrese Halliburton, and just how they match up well against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They can go get a bucket. And I think this is going to be a fun, exciting series. I think that this is going to be a coach and chess match. And I think that there's going to be some key matchups inside this series that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to have an opportunity to exploit. But then on the other side of it, I think there's going to be something that Indiana does that can present some challenges for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So as we continue to play chess, as we move on to the next round, I think you want those type of opponents, right? Donovan Mitchell talks about this a lot. You want it to be hard. You want it to be tough. You don't want it to be a cakewalk. You want to go and play teams that'll battle test you. And so I just go back into, how the Cleveland Cavaliers played this series, primarily the last 2 games. I think, and you can understand this too. We hear Kenny Atkinson talk about, putting that amount of points on the board is cool, and being that efficient offensively is cool. But I can only wonder how hard he's smiling right now in South Beach, seeing his team check off every single, box that we know he really cares about. The rebound and, just closing out on the 3-point line and things like that. And if the Cavaliers can take those same defensive tendencies that they created, healthy habits that they created in those last 2 games in this series, I expect this to, I think Indiana may be a little tougher, man, but I expect the Cavs to still handle their business.
Oh, I'm not picking Indiana. Don't mistake what I'm saying. I just think this was not a competitive series.
Yeah, Indiana might get a game. They get a game. It might go 6. That'd be a more competitive series, but the Cavs are still going to be the Cavs. We're going to let them know regardless.
I think it was really impressive from the Cavs standpoint that heading back to Miami after game 2 that was close, right? Donovan had to go kind of superhero mode down the stretch there to beat Miami. Despite the fact they were up early, Miami cut it down to a 2-point game. Then Donovan went crazy. 1 seeds and championship caliber teams, Earl, know how to put their foot on the opponent's neck and basically suffocate them, for lack of a better word, and erase any hope they would have of making this a series. And you saw them do it in game 3. You mentioned it earlier, snatching their soul. And it's kind of the perfect way to phrase what happened. They snatched Miami's soul. And you saw in the Memphis OKC series, games 3 and 4, even though they're an 8 seed, they're still an NBA playoff team. They had a chance, and they made it competitive. Cleveland never let that happen. And granted, Memphis is better than the Heat. I understand that. But they were the dominant version on both ends of the court that we needed to see, Earl. And they didn't give Miami a single second of belief that they belonged on the same court. And we talk about how Boston plays with their food, right? They do it all the time. They did it in game 3 against Orlando. They did it in game 4. They ended up winning that game, but they let them linger around. Yeah. Cleveland wanted none of that. Look at the starters' minutes tonight, Earl. In the final 2 games of this series, I'm doing the mental math, and I may be a minute or 2 off. I don't think any starter on the Cavs played more than 52 minutes in the final 2 games. Like,
I'm looking
that's
looking
load
at this.
management in the play. The Cavs were so good, they're
Playoffs.
load managing in the playoffs. Think of where we were 2 years ago, Earl. Losing to the Knicks in the first round. Last year, they go 7, beat Orlando in 7, lose to the Celtics. This year, the progression from 2 years ago to this season is, yeah, the Cavs are so dominant and they've been so good through the first 4 games of the playoffs. They're load managing their best players. Think about that.
Hey, nobody played more than 25 minutes tonight on the entire roster, right? You got Evan with 23 minutes tonight, Jarrett Allen with 25, Donovan with 25, Max played 21, Sam played 19. But even looking at the bench, nobody played over 21 minutes. And so the regular season plan, Kenny was able actually to execute that in the first round of the playoffs. Let's go ahead and load manage this thing. And again, that just makes the Cavs more lethal as they get ready for the next round, man. What type of, like, think about this, man. You got to be clicking on all cylinders, and you got to have this crazy amount of confidence, and you got to have a crazy amount of faith in your system for you to come out here and put built the ass 2 straight games without your all-star point guard. It's like Darius Garland be damned. We're going to go out here, we're going to handle our business, and we're going to let y'all know, like, that quote-unquote heat culture that y'all talk about, that's a thing of the past, man. That's a thing of the past. It's a new day. It's a new era.
I don't know if it's a thing of the past, but it's not a thing of this team. I'll tell you that.
It ain't a thing of this series.
Put some good players back on that roster, and Miami will be good again. That roster just depleted. Let's do this, or we'll wrap up in 5 minutes. But we'll do this. Guys got a couple of tweets tonight saying, are the Cavs better without Darius Garland? Let me just say very simply, I don't think the answer is yes, but nothing against the Miami Heat, a team that clearly had their mindset on Cancun after the first 4 minutes of this game, is going to answer that question. I believe Darius Garland is an essential cog to this team winning a postseason, an NBA championship, not a postseason, excuse me, an NBA championship. Like, they need Darius' shot creation. They need his three-point shooting. They need his ball creativity. Is he a bit of a defensive liability at times? Sure. They're going to hunt him. Like he's not a perfect player by any means, but he brings stuff to this offense, and he's been the catalyst, and he's been their most clutch scorer and their best clutch assist maker all season. He finished with a 5-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio in the clutch this year. That was number 1 in the NBA. He was their best clutch decision maker. Just because they beat the Miami Heat in back-to-back games without Darius Garland is not an indication on whether or not Darius is important to this team's big picture goals. Because as we said to start this, Darius, no Darius, Donovan, no Donovan, Evan, no Donovan, Jarrett, no Jarrett. I think Cleveland's bench could have beat this Miami team, in all honesty. So, I'm not making any big picture conclusions or big judgments based off 2 games against a completely inferior opponent. It certainly looked good the last 2 games. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think this team's better without Darius Garland. I think against better opponents, Indiana, Boston, any team that comes out of the West, the Knicks, I do think Darius Garland's a needed component for this team to win at the highest of levels.
Yeah, I'll put it to you this way. If Darius Garland was in a situation to where he had to make a significant amount of time, I think with Ty Jerome and Craig Porter Jr., the Cavaliers wouldn't miss a beat. But with that being said, man, this Cavaliers team is 10 times better with Darius Garland out there on the court. I think what he brings offensively, what he brings from a clutch, and just what he brings from a flat-out playmaking standpoint, it ranks him right up there with some of the top point guards in the NBA. And so it's easy to get caught up in the moment when you see us dominate Miami the way we did the last 2 games without him out there on the floor. But I would throw caution to the wind and saying that this Cavs team is better without him, because he had some big moments in this series as well that helped lift us to victory too, and we can't forget that.
It was really good in games 1 and 2. He was one of their better players in those 2 first matchups against Miami, and then he got hurt, and hopefully it's nothing serious. They're going to have, like I said, potentially up to 6 days to get ready for game 1. It's a big toe injury. Those are always difficult to gauge the timeline because you can't really get off your toe, Earl. It's one of those things that it's a pain tolerance issue more than it is he has to rest so it heals. And Darius is a tough dude, but a toe injury on one of your feet, which is the catalyst to his entire offensive game, is it's not ideal. Let's just put it that way. I don't think it's debilitating, but it's not ideal. We just got one super chat, and then we'll get out of here, Earl. But Tomaz Ragula says, R.I.P. to Mr. Love. If you guys missed it, Kevin Love's father, Stan, passed away recently. That's why Kevin has not been part of the Heat bench this postseason series. If you missed it on the broadcast, there was a emotional exchange between him and Tristan Thompson pregame. You can tell those two are still incredibly close and keep in touch with each other. And yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to Mr. Love, the entire Love family. It's always tough. I mean, Earl, I know you lost your mom, 2 months ago now at this point, 2.5 months ago, and it's never easy. So our thoughts and prayers are definitely with the Love family, Kevin Love and his father.
Yeah, big facts, man. Prayers out to Kevin Love. Like, I know what it's like to lose a father, and whether 76 like his father or 56 like my father. Losing a parent is never easy. It's not something that you're going to get over. It's not something that's going to just go away. My only advice to Kevin would be is that as the years pass, you're just going to learn how to carry that load as best as you can, but you're never going to be okay. And I think that's the biggest, I think that's the biggest lie people tell people who lose their parents, is that one day it's going to get easier and one day it's going to be okay. That's a lie. It's not. You just learn how to navigate through life with that pain and carry that weight and just try to be the most productive person as you can. So, thoughts and prayers out to Kevin Love, the entire Love family. And, he always got a special heart and everybody's special place in everybody's heart right here in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, we forgot to do our sponsor. So real quick, tell us a little bit about Living for We.
For sure, man. Make sure that you tune in to, give me 1 second, the Living for We podcast. Catch season 2 of Living for We. Keep your head up. Hosted by Marlene Harris-Taylor and Maisha Watkins every other Tuesday. Presented by Idea Stream Public Media. Each episode is going to take you deep into the real-life struggles of gun violence in the communities of colors. Stories that don't always make the headlines. So subscribe today to Living for We on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Last week, man, they dropped an episode called Feared and Revered. Make sure you go check that out. Shout out to everybody with the Living for We podcast.
And also, FanDuel is the presenting sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Right now, new customers, if they bet $5 and win on their first bet, they win $250 in bonus bets. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS to get in on all the action. Earl, it's a clean sweep for the Cavs. We await the winner of Indiana and Milwaukee, Game 5 on Wednesday. And is that a Donovan Mitchell jersey?
You already know it's the Big 4-5 jersey. Okay. You already know. Let them know. Hashtag let them know.
Let them know that the Cavs have a couple days to rest. I have made a player request to sit down and do another interview. We'll see if the Cavs grant it, but I think this one will be well received. Another one of the fan favorites if we get there. We appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight on this Cavs post-game sweep show. We appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in, and we will see y'all tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. As always, Earl, 12 more wins to go. 12
to go. Let's get it, y'all. Let them know, man. Go Cavs.
We'll see y'all later. Have a good one, guys. And remember, go Cavs. Peace.